Hey, what's up, everybody? So, I came in third in the first ever Elestrals tournament. It was a 7-game round robin, 8-player format. Everything was best out of 3. We had 12 card sideboards, and I played my Ketchup and Mustard control deck. You may have seen the video about it already, but I just want to go over how I played the deck in the tournament and why it did so well. So, going into the tournament, I had to kind of ask myself. So all the deck lists were public. I went to each deck before I played that person and looked at it and said, do I need to get Leonite out because they have Invoke Rune removal? Or do I need to get Sonicore out because they have Counter Rune removal? And after asking that question, it just comes down to, okay, I need to make sure I get that out and Hammer of Hephaestus out. Generally. So most decks have 2 forms of removal where it's either of the 3 available. So the 3 available rune removal is you have Invoke Runes like Resting on Your Laurels, which you can see on the side of the screen there. You have Counter Rune removal like Shield of Achilles. And you have Elestral removal like Boombat and Kindleo. So Hammer of Hephaestus stops the Boombats, the Kindleos from affecting Sonicore, the Sorlets from affecting Sonicore or Leonite if Hammer of Hephaestus is on them. And then Leonite will stop Earthquake and Resting on Your Laurels because they can no longer play those cards. And Sonicore will stop, all counter runes like Shield of Achilles, Poison Tip Arrow. So most games, I just had to look at what removal my opponents were playing, and if they were playing Elestral and counter runes, I play Sonicore and Hammer. If they're playing Invoke and Elestrals, I play Leonite and Hammer. If they're playing Counter Runes and Invoke Runes, then I have to look and just basically I play Leonite first and just don't attack until I get Sonicore out to not pop the Counter Runes. So that's what I did with the deck. I looked at everybody's list and said, okay, they have this removal. I need to get this 2-drop out first. And from there, I can just lock my opponent down because Leonite or Sonicore, getting them to play with the Hammer of Hephaestus on them is a 9 attack. In this tournament, there's only like 2 or 3 cards out of all the decks that would attack over Leonite or Sonicore. One of them being another Sonicore because there's a Thunder deck running Sonicores. The Water Ramp deck playing Majesty could run over my Sonicore or Leonite. That ramp deck also ran Centaur. There wasn't a single Valkyries or Tectorus in the entire tournament, which also posed an issue to running over these 2 and destroying them. But because these decks didn't have creatures more than 5 attack, except for a few creatures in a few matchups, all I had to do to win this tournament, or win my matches at least, was get one of these 2 out with the right protection, and if they run all the suite of all 3 protections, again, counters, invokes, and Celestial effects, I just need to get Leonite out with Hammer and just not attack until I can get that Sonicore out as well. And there's a couple games where I did that. I've gotten the pair of them and the best of 3s out almost every single match. Not every single game, but one of the games in the match, I got both of them out in almost every game. They're just very, very, very strong and impressive together. So that's kind of how I went into playing my matches. Now, how else does this deck work? So I have to get these cards out first, and there's a few aggro decks, a few control decks in the format. What did I do against these decks to try to get these cards out that you see on the screen now? So we'll start with the top row here. So I have Riceros, which when I'm playing against not Thunder decks, Riceros will just say, hey, you can't attack me right now. And that would give me a turn stall to get either Leonite or Sonicore out. Even if I got Leonite out with a Misenchant, that kind of worked. Or sometimes I could play Riceros with a Fire on it with the Shield of Achilles backup to keep him alive and get Leonite out that way. This deck misenchants so much. Like, one of the games I played and won, it should be the last match of the live stream I did playing games. I just misenchanted my last 3 or 4 Elestrals to just throw my opponent off to make them figure out if I had Sonicore or Leonite in hand and what removal they should use at that point. And it was very difficult for them to do that. I ended up winning the game because they couldn't really figure out what was going on. But yeah, I've Shield of Achilles, Poison Tip Arrow to slow my opponent down to try to get Leonite and Sonicore out. Ambrosia to stay alive. Quackle to stay alive. Thunderstorms to disrupt their early counter runes. So if they're having Gorgon's Gaze in play, I do have to get rid of Gorgon's Gaze before I can play my Sonicore. Otherwise, it's going to slow down my Sonicore. And it gets rid of a couple other problem things like Aeola, stuff like that. 2 Nectar of the Gods. I have 3 Astrabis as well with draw power, so I didn't really need that many Nectar of the Gods, and they are a little expensive in my opinion. 2 for 2 is 2, spirits for 2 cards. It's a little expensive, especially since you're only going up 1 for that cost. But Nectar of Gods, it's still a good card. I have 2 Necrofs, so a little bit of control package Necrof. So these Necrofs aren't going full aggro, trying to expand my opponent early. They're there to attack over most of the other 1-drops, since there's a lot of 1-drops in the format. Sparket's there as a little optional control card. It was kind of my card that I put in to use against counter versus counter matchups, so I could play Sparket with a Hammer of Hephaestus on it, make it a 6 attack, force my opponent to discard a lot. That was the goal of Sparket. It only really helped in 1 game. Removal wise, I have Kinleos for great removal. This will eat up the extra fire from my Hephaestus, destroy stuff, get a little aggro if I need to. Boombat, another great removal card. I'm playing a slower control deck. It's okay to lose that summon to destroy something. Sometimes I played Boombat, with Sparket, threw a lightning onto it and kept the Boombat in play. And then I have the Astrap for draw powers. I went over it. So this is the general layout of the deck, the base deck, and I'll show you the sideboard in a second. But yeah, the whole thing is, what is my opponent playing for removal? I know what they're playing. Let me get this card out first, then this card. If I don't know what my opponent's playing, the safe bet is to get Leonite out first with Hammer and worry about getting Sonicore out after Leonite, because Sonicore stops counter runes which have to be activated in response to something, whereas if I play Leonite, they now just can't proactively do anything to Leonite with Hammer of Hephaestus on it because it's protected, it can't be targeted. Whereas Sonicore, if I play Sonicore out, they could theoretically Earthquake Sonicore, and then I lose all that value. So, quick look over at the sideboard. It's somewhat straightforward, so I have 3 resting on your laurels here. It's just good removal against, slower decks that are building up a board state. Great way to remove stuff. You might see the Mistation. I don't have a single water spirit in the deck, so why am I running Mistation? Against Thunder, I need an option that's not Riceros to stall them. So a 1/6 body for 1, even Misenchanted, will stall almost every single creature in the first 2 turns unless they're pushing for an early 2-drop. So Mistation just playing in defense mode Misenchanted instead of Riceros against Thunder decks. It worked out really good that way. I have a couple Gorgon's Gazes, I think 3 Gorgon's Gazes. Gorgon's Gaze, not a great card, but because it's so versatile, it does a lot and can just be used for a lot of matchups. I have extra Hammer in my sideboard if I'm going against a deck with a lot of P-Gust, Tornadoes, Thunderstorms, destroying my runes. I need the extra Hammer to help keep Leonite and Sonicore alive. And then Pandora's Box to stop searching decks, stop the Aeolus, stop the Stratomoth. But yeah, that's kind of the overview 2 of what this deck was and how I played it and why it did as well as it did. It's a deck that really... you can either play it in the dumb way and just run at the Leonite Hammer every single game, play it slow till you get Sonicore, or just look at what your opponent has and just play it smartly. They don't have Earthquakes in their deck. Just windmill slam the Sonicore down with Hammer, So you can play this in the super easy way of just get my big stuff out, go, or you can play this in the smarter way, slower way. So even if you don't feel like you're a great player, the deck still works if you rush the Leonite Hammer out. And if you want to play it at a higher level, you can really kind of focus on what your opponent's playing, what cards they have, what removal they've used already, and it gets very, thought intensive. What can I expend now? Am I going to run out of fire for my Hammer combos? Do I just go super heavy with Kinleo with Nexusing him and attack face? But yeah, it's a very fun deck. I really enjoyed it. Again, I went 5-2. I came in 3rd. It's a fun deck. I didn't expect it to do so well, but not running into Valkyries, not running into Tectorus, stuff like that really helped the deck just shine because no one really ran things with more than 7 or 9 attack. So it worked. Alright guys, that's the video for today. Please subscribe. I appreciate that stuff. I'll be doing more videos as I can. I hope you enjoyed this one. You guys have a great day. Peace.